everyone, and welcome to my recap of Emerald City Comic Con. Even though Emerald City was a couple weeks ago, I actually came back from Kansas City this past weekend from another convention out there, so I've been traveling a lot, but I still wanted to do a recap on Emerald City anyways because it was my first show of the year and I made a lot of changes that I'm really proud of, and I want to go over them and just give you guys a little peek at what happened at Emerald City. So let's dive into it. This first image, there's going to be a mix of images and video for this because I didn't get a whole lot of video, but lots of photos at least. This is my plan for my booth layout. I had a 6 by 8 foot space and I was trying to cram as much as I could possibly fit in there and still make sense of it all. So this is kind of like my scribble to figure out where I'm going to place everything, so there was no guesswork once I got there. So laying down a good plan was going to be my key to getting set up in a reasonable amount of time. So one of the new ideas I had this year was I wanted to incorporate more wood into my booth, and by doing that, partly I wanted to make little trays made of wood to put all of my prints on the table in. So to make the trays, I took these little square dowel rods. I cut them down into the 4 sides of the tray. After I cut it down, I realized that I didn't cut them to the right lengths, but I worked with what I had. I went ahead and I stained all of the pieces of wood that I had, and then I found, I believe, 12 by 18 backing board, and then I used like thumbtacks to tack the backing board, and you can see that in the top left there, onto the wood. And I think the trays actually look very nice that way, and I'm really proud of the work that I did, even though it wasn't exactly the way that I envisioned them. They worked out really well in the end, and you'll see that later. Another part of my booth upgrade was getting some new greenery, and this is me kind of just laying it out on the floor to give a good look at it. Prep work for the convention. This was one of the new prints that I introduced to Emerald City this year, and I painted this last fall, and I'm very, very excited to debut it there. So I did not get a hotel downtown. I instead drove every day across this bridge and saw those beautiful mountains, the Cascades over on the other side there. So here's a good look at the table. Before I got everything set up, the white table with the green covering on it is the table that they provided me. And then the other little 3 tables that you see there are my own that I brought to fill up the space. And I do fill up a lot of the space that most people probably wouldn't, but I really like to have my tables extra deep because it allows me to set up a shelf like closer to the back side of the table, and then I have more table space on the front side to lay out prints, and you'll see this coming up in just a moment. This is what I did so the convention started on Thursday, and so this was Wednesday, and I set up the tables, the tablecloth. The white tablecloth is also new. It's kind of like a white and light gray marble pattern, which I absolutely love because it really brightens up the table. It used to be just a big black hole, so I added that to brighten it up, and I set up just the general display and the wire racks and stuff like that. The products themselves, Thursday morning. So this here is just me on Thursday morning as I wander into the hall, and everything is at my booth. I don't have to bring anything in with me because I brought it in the day before that, and it's just underneath the table. So pretty much all I have to do is show up at the convention, and this is probably maybe a couple hours before the show floor opened, so a lot of people are still setting up at this point. But the main show floor for Emerald City, and this is the 4th floor, you see me walking across the sky bridge and then into the main hall here. And the thing about this hall, it is absolutely huge and confusing. I know my way around it pretty well because I've been doing a lot of conventions in this specific convention center. I'm familiar with it, but I know to a lot of folks who aren't, it's really confusing, especially when you have to go up like these escalators and then there's across the sky bridge. Is it across the sky bridge? Is it not? The artist alley is on a different floor altogether, and there's only like one way to get there. So I know it gets really confusing for everyone, which is partly why I was very worried about my location at this show. And as you can see, I am still walking. I'm going very far into the back end of the hall here. And looking on the exhibitor map when I was given my location, it looked like it was really pushed off into the back, and I wasn't sure about how the show is going to go because it's so far back here. I was really afraid that kind of people wouldn't filter that far back, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people, when they go around a show floor, they'll hit like the main areas, but they won't always go into these little kind of like side room. It's not really a room, but like this side area, thinking it's not anything big back there to see, but actually the homegrown section, which is all of the local folks like Pacific Northwest, including like Oregon, Washington. That was all last year, so they did a pretty decent job advertising it, because I did see a lot of people coming back here, but you can see me looking at this big empty wall going, oh no, I hope this turns out okay. And here's the view from my booth. We are all set up, and this would have been not very long before opening on Thursday. A little peek behind the booth where you can see my supplies, extra pins, originals there. You can see my play mats, backup copies behind the table, some of my greenery, and my new little, I made this like flag stand, which I absolutely love. Yeah, overall, I feel like the booth was really bright, like it was a lot brighter than it used to be at my other shows, and I feel like the changes I made were a big improvement because it used to be just black tablecloths with black boxes and black everything else, and it was so dark, and it wasn't the look that I wanted to represent on my booth. Like, I wanted people to look at my booth and have it be more bright and inviting, but also like woodsy with natural elements, and I feel like I got a lot closer to that. There's still a little bit more room, I think, to improve, but overall, I'm really happy with the way this booth came together. I made a bigger effort with putting the playmats on the end and also really paring down the amount of prints I brought because I used to be overloaded with items at my booth and it was really confusing. So I really tried to just bring my best and make it as simple but still very full with lots of options. And I'm just gonna cycle through a few photos. The top right there, Hugin and Moonin, are two of my new releases, and they went over so well at Emerald City. Very excited about that. And my boxes, which worked amazingly. So happy. And here's just a quick little clip of real time behind the scenes on the show floor. I didn't get a lot of chances to get out and walk around and say hi to people, but this was one of the evenings that we walked outside the convention center and there was this like band playing outside. And this is the end of the show where I'm breaking down. I've got my assistant, she's running around somewhere, and we're in the process of getting it all packed up and on my little cart there. And that's the end of 4 crazy long days, by the way. Overall, I'm very happy with how it all turned out. I did a lot better than I thought I would, which was, I thought I was going to do absolutely terrible, to be honest, but no, it actually worked out really well, and we had a lot of good traffic back there. There was like a line along that blank back wall where people were like lining up for like Funko Pops and stuff like that, so it was actually a lot busier than I expected, and it's one of my favorite shows, so I'm really happy that I got to join this year. And this time, my end card, I would like to thank all of my patrons on Patreon. You guys have really helped me stay focused, and the feedback you give me on new projects and new pieces and my sketches. And I just want to say that I am very appreciative and grateful for all of your support. And until the next video, thanks for watching. Bye.